This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. Hello and welcome to episode number 86. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 26th of January 2008. Nice to have you with us. Nami Abuzaid is the guest in today's episode, and we look at project management in the hotel, casino, and hospitality business. Nami works for the Las Vegas Sands Corporation in Las Vegas, Nevada, the town that 15 of the 20 largest hotels in the world call their home. Thus, the projects that Nami was involved in were major and business-critical projects. We hear about a ticketing system that he helped build for the entertainment center. Then there is a convention system for the hotel. Next, we talk about his process improvement projects. And we finally explore a retail system project where the complete retail system for a series of stores had to be replaced in just one night. Today's episode is sponsored by Genius Insight, an award-winning provider of web-based project management software since '96 for medium to large-sized companies. Genius Insight solutions are easily and extraordinarily customizable and support all the key components of successful portfolio project management, from planning and tracking to detailed reporting and risk assessment. Project managers, team members, and executives can easily view and share documents, graphical blueprints, financial spreadsheets, and more from any location within the company or with suppliers and business partners, supporting the entire ecosystem. For more information, please visit geniusinside.com. Before we move on to the interview with Nami, we have a bit of listener feedback, an announcement about the contest, and a quick reminder of our 2008 survey. Back in episode 84, I asked you about your favorite tool to manage small projects. I received several responses, and I want to make sure that you hear about them. So here is one response that we received from Jens Oster from Denmark. And this is what Jens said. From my point of view, the tool is not the most important thing. It is more important that you change the way you work. Okay, and of course, after I read these two sentences, I thought to myself, aha, here's someone who knows what he is talking about. So here we go. I have the following recommendation. You need a company repository where you store a description of all changes which need to be done in order to finish the project. This repository can be your new smart tool. It can be as simple as an Excel file stored on a network drive. All stakeholders must be able to access the common repository. The common repository holds multiple change records. Each of these change records could have the following attributes: ID, priority, name, description, assignee, and a state. You need to define how the state of a change record changes. For instance, who can make new change records, and you only work on a task if you have a change record that is assigned to you. I think that there are several tools that can do the job. I recommend Jira, J-I-R-A, as a tool for bug and issue tracking in small and medium-sized software projects. I have used Jira for the last 4 years, and it is the tool that I cannot live without when I manage software projects. And that, of course, came from Jens Oster from Aarhus in Denmark. What I like about his approach is the fact that he realizes a fool with a tool is still just a fool. So the most important part about managing a small project, therefore, is to adapt your processes to the small project and not just think that a tool will manage it for you. Thank you, Jens. And we will be bringing you more responses to my question from episode 84 on how to manage small projects in future episodes. Then I want to make you aware of a contest that just started today. I realized that this year is a leap year, so I want to do a contest that ends on February 29th, 2008. You can win a free license to the PM Prepcast. You probably know that the Prepcast is our sister podcast where we help you pass the PMP exam. There is not just one license, but 2 licenses that we're going to give away on the 29th. And each license will go to a different group of people. The first group of people and the first license goes to all those among you who are subscribers to our premium Project Management Podcast. As you know, the Project Management Podcast here, it's free, but some of you have chosen to subscribe to the podcast and support us with a small monthly payment. So everyone who is subscribed on February 29th will automatically be able to win 1 license. And the second license goes to those people who are registered users of our website on February the 29th. So all you have to do is surf over to the pmpodcast.com, register a username, and you can win. And if you already have a username, there's even nothing you have to do. And with a username, you can also post comments on our episodes. And that's how you can win a free license to the Prepcast. And by the way, there are more contests coming up. A book will be coming up, and we will also have some project management software that we're going to give away. And our final announcement here today is about the 2008 survey. We want to know what your hot topics for project management in 2008 are. So we created a short 1-question survey that will take you about 60 seconds to fill in. Please stop by at the website and look in the left-hand navigation for the 2008 survey. But I have a question for one of you listeners out there about this survey, because some of you who responded to the survey wrote in your own responses. And one of these own responses was somebody would like to hear more about project management in small islands. Project management in small islands. Now, that sounds different and interesting. Do you mean to say that you would like to hear how people who live on small islands, like the Maldives or the West Indies or something like that, manage projects? I would like to know. Please write to pmpodcast@gmail.com and clarify this for me, because I do have colleagues who live in Hawaii, and I'm sure I can get them on the program for a chat. Or maybe I just totally misunderstood what you mean by project management in small islands. All right. Normally at this point, we'll move on either to helpful resources or we have our Gizmo segment. But today we're going to go straight into our main topic. And that is, of course, our discussion about project management in the hotel, casino and hospitality business with Nami E. Abuzaid. Nami is a project manager and corporate strategist for the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, a company that has helped redefine the business model of Las Vegas resorts in recent years. In his work at the Venetian and the Las Vegas Sands, Nami has gained a reputation for successfully leading complex, mission-critical technology projects. In addition, he holds the PMP designation. In an effort to round his hotel and casino management skills, Nami participates in the Venetian's Leadership Development Program, a highly selective program that trains leaders for the company's future. So without further ado, here is the interview with Nami E. Abuzaid, PMP.
Project Management Podcasts Feature Interview. Today, with Nami E. Abuzaid, corporate strategist for the Las Vegas Sands Corporation.
Hello, Nami, and welcome to the program.
Thank you, Cornelius. Thanks for having me.
Our discussion today is going to be about project management in the hotel, casino, and hospitality business. Now, we're doing this with you because you started out as a journalist and you're now a project manager for a very large company, the Sands Las Vegas Corporation in Las Vegas, of course. And tell us a little bit about that. How did that come about? How does a journalist, become a project manager?
Well, yeah, I'm a bit of a reinventor of my own career. Basically, I did have a traditional journalist background, studied journalism at George Washington University, a really tried and true type old school education in journalism. And I did spend 5 years in media, on the editorial side of media, in a variety of positions, print, radio, editorial writing as well. I just found that doing journalism day in, day out, my love of writing, took a back seat to the grind of writing. And I just wanted a career change. So I went back to business school, got an MBA from Babson College in Boston, a very fine institution. And I was just another one of those people in their mid-20s who wanted to put the brakes on their career and got a master's degree as a career-changing tool.
Yes. And then, if I remember correctly, you met the CIO of the Sands. Is that correct? He interviewed you and brought you on?
Yeah, it was a funny story. I was on my way on a recruiting trip to Los Angeles because I had lived in and I enjoyed very much. I was visiting my sister in Las Vegas, and she happened to introduce me to the president of the Venetian Hotel, who at the time was dealing with very successful property in Las Vegas. The parent company, Las Vegas Sands Corp., was about to go public and about to open a casino in China. And at the time was just growing dramatically. And he turned me on to the CIO of Las Vegas Sands Corp. And after a few months of talking back and forth, something that was just a one-shot deal, a nice casual meeting turned into a job opportunity. And then a few weeks later, I met the woman that would become my wife. So that's how I ended up in Vegas. And it's been 4 years. So I'm grateful.
Right. And in those 4 years, you have done quite a number of projects. And we want to take a little look at all of those and see what it was that you've done. Let's start out with one fact that you told me about before the interview, and that is that 15 out of the 20 largest hotels in the world are in Las Vegas. Yeah. So the projects that you are involved in, they are major projects, they are business critical, I suppose, for those hotels. And which one do you want to start out with? The ticketing system?
Sure.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about that.
I was kind of thrown into the fire quite a bit when I first started at the Venetian Las Vegas, which was the main property at the time. Now my company has properties in China, planning one in Singapore, one in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, on the books. And as well as a new hotel going up in Las Vegas called Palazzo, which is opening in the end of this year. But at the time, the Venetian Vegas needed a ticketing system for 3 new entertainment venues that they were building. We did 3 multi-million-dollar entertainment venues. We built them from scratch in a 12-month span. And just staggering how we unveiled 3 new entertainment venues for Blue Man Group, Phantom of the Opera, and an in-house showroom featuring Gordie Brown. So those 3 headlining acts needed custom-built theaters, and we needed a ticketing system. At the time, we had no entertainment division, let alone a ticketing system. So that was one of my main projects, leading the procurement, the implementation, and support for a major ticketing system that was going to run our 3 venues. In a short amount of time, with limited support from an entertainment division, which was as yet still on the drawing board. And it was just one of those examples of a project manager in IT not necessarily confining himself to the IT portion of a project. It took a lot of just good business project management and basically where that line usually is drawn between the IT and the business, that it was blurred. And so I had to step up and take more of a business management role.
Did you know what you were getting into when they first told you we need you to do this ticketing system?
I use my training as a journalist to get up to speed quickly. That's really what good journalistic training gives you. It gives you good writing skills, good interviewing skills, good research skills, because you often find yourself writing about a different subject every week. So I just took that framework and I applied it to project management. I read up on ticketing systems. I read up on the entertainment business. I read up on, point of sale systems, anything I could do, and anything I could do to further my understanding of what I was getting into. But still, the idea of having deadlines, having announced dates to open a showroom, and knowing that you have a hard deadline to unveil a system that's going to sell millions of tickets for our company is a daunting challenge, especially somebody who's new to the casino industry and someone who wasn't really privy to some of the regulatory issues, some of the compliance issues, some of those things that you never really think of. But casino gaming is a very regulated industry. It's watched by many, and now that Las Vegas Sands at the time was a public company, it was something we had to do right.
Yes. How many people were on your staff for that ticketing system?
I led a functional team, cross-functional team really, of people from finance, people from operations, people from IT, probably about 30.
Okay.
We had a steering committee to help select the system. Everybody from our head concierge, believe it or not, to our head facilities person helped select it, and it was really decision making by committee, and it was just a good illustration of how all the pieces of an integrated resort have to come together and contribute.
So let me get this straight. You just finished your MBA, basically, and you got thrown into this project. That must have been like an incredible challenge for you.
It was. I think I was prepared for it on paper. I certainly had the academic background, but the idea of sort of building the relationships, building the credibility. At the time, I was new to IT. At the time, I was new to hotel casino. So I needed to, and Las Vegas is a place that's in many ways skeptical of strong academic backgrounds. And they don't embrace it. They're quite skeptical of them because Vegas was sort of built on that, up from the bootstraps type hustle, rather than people who come with newly minted degrees to build a career. So it was tough. You have to build credibility by getting some early successes, and you have to be in the trenches with the team. So it was tough, but it was surmountable.
What was your greatest challenge?
I think the greatest challenge at the time was not having sort of people in an entertainment management type position who could help lead the requirements gathering and who could help lead the system selection. So we had to take it a lot on ourselves. We had to learn the hard way. We had to talk to the vendors, but we also had to dissect what the vendors were saying. And so basically we had lots of demos, lots of work sessions. But at the time, the toughest thing was just not having that team in place who had seen it all, had done it all on the entertainment side. That was the biggest challenge.
From your point of view, was this more a technical project? We need to find the technically correct ticketing system? Or was it for you more a project? Oh, I'm leading a project. I'm leading the people. I'm focusing on the deadlines. I'm working on tasks. I'm working on results. What was your mindset?
It was the latter, more of the latter, because for me, someone who is more business trained rather than IT trained, I really focused on how this system impacted the business and more of the fiscal side of it. If we missed our deadline by a day, how much was that going to cost the company in lost ticket sales or lost revenue? We were buying mainly an off-the-shelf system that we were going to configure ourselves. We weren't building a system. We weren't constructing a system. We were buying an off-the-shelf. So we needed to evaluate the business deal make sure we did select the right business partner. And the rest of it was navigating sort of the business side of the project rather than the technical side.
You said you didn't really have the people in the background that knew, from within that type of project from previous experience. Had you considered bringing in any consultants from external? People who know what they are doing.
Yeah, and that's one of the things about hotel casino project management is I get calls a lot from people. I get calls and emails from people who might see my website or might see me in a directory. How do I get into hotel casino project management? It sounds so exciting. I'm sure they do it very well, but I think what we don't have in our industry is often the luxury of planning. We don't have time to craft elaborate project plans or to do these high-level planning with risk management and all those things. Oftentimes, we were doing projects under such tight constraints, such tight deadlines, especially with growing casino companies, rather than retrenching casino companies. But basically, the planning horizon is so short that you don't think about the consulting. You don't think about bringing in those external people who are experts. We had to do it fast, and we had to rely on the vendor quite a bit. We actually relied on the consulting from the vendor. But you're right. We may have benefited from some outside consultants who were system independent and who were really experts in that. But that's sort of the beauty of this industry. It's fast growing. We have tight deadlines, and oftentimes you have to learn as you go. And we did that. And I think at the end of the day, we pulled it off, and the business did not feel any negative impact. It was business as usual as we opened up. And, the seats filled, the curtain raised, and the show went on.
As a follow-up question, since you have such tight deadlines and there is very little planning time that you can put into, what did your budget look like? Did you have a budget? Were you able to stay within budget? Was the budget not something that you were working towards because your primary constraint is the day of the opening of your theater?
Yeah, most of the time you'll get a new business that'll have capital costs, sort of a pre-opening budget, and systems will be budgeted within that. But oftentimes you have to go to a steering committee or a capital review committee and get the money. I mean, and your first estimate better be pretty close, because if you have to go back and ask for more, that's where the challenges come in. So we're often doing back of the envelope type estimating on what a system would cost. We're actually relying a lot on vendors who want to break into hotel casino, because nowadays a lot of software vendors are looking at a very lucrative market, hotel casino, but they need that first property to break in with, so they're willing to strike deals, favorable deals, and we have to push that as well from the operator side. But yeah, usually you're doing an estimate. You go back and get some budget money, and it's part of the pre-opening expenses for things like theaters and hotels. But you better be pretty close. That's the key to it, and that's something we could do a better job at. And I think the industry might need to, because you'll see some cost overrun articles in the paper about resorts going at $2 billion and they end up being $2.3 billion, and things like systems contribute to that.
And the system, after all, is only one small item in the whole picture, right? I mean, after all, you have to build the casino, physical, and all that. So there's a lot more involved than just the ticketing system.
Absolutely. And with these theaters, we needed custom sound systems. We needed fire inspections. We need all these things. And also, oftentimes, engineering might do something as mundane as, build cabinetry with no holes for computer cords. And so you'll be there the day of with an engineer drilling a hole in marble or granite or some material like that, because you need either a CPU to cool or you need a cord for power. So things like that sometimes get overlooked, even by the best companies who do this. So that's some of the more, let's see, unplanned parts of the project.
Let's move on from the ticketing system. I believe the other one that we mentioned, that you mentioned to me before the interview, was a convention center business. Is that another project you were involved with?
Yeah, we among the projects I've done, retail systems, convention systems. Nowadays, a hotel in Vegas doesn't get built unless it's got some sort of facility for business meetings and business conventions. And we do it very well at our company. We help pioneer the concept of building a hotel and a convention center attached to it and filling that hotel with business people during the week and casino players on the weekend. So we help pioneer that concept. It's very popular now in Vegas. But, you'd be surprised. Now that we are a mature company, we have more than one property, we're looking at our processes. So part of what I'm doing now is business process improvement projects. And so we're taking a hard look at how we do things and how our systems help us do things. And we're trying to do things better. So that's what I'm currently involved in. It's basically helping make our convention center with our banquet services, with our group meetings business, just run more smoothly, run in a more automated fashion. And you got to remember, the project management in the hotel, casino, and hospitality business is project management toward a service, because at the end of the day, there's always a customer interaction. There's always a front desk person speaking with a customer. There's always a housekeeper interacting with a customer. There's an event manager interacting with a customer. Anytime a bad interaction could cause a guest to have a bad experience and walk away with a bad feeling in their mouth about a nice high-end resort. So what we try to do is give them technology to help them make informed decisions and provide better customer service. Because really in Vegas, just like anywhere else, it's all about the customer. It's all about that interaction between the hotel employee and the hotel guest. And that's really central. And systems are sort of a side component to that, but they don't take primary placement. They're secondary, but they do supplement the process and help support the process. So we got to remember that. The most important thing is great guest experience.
You said that you are currently working on process improvement projects. That means you're looking at the processes in-house and you're trying to make them better. Mm-hmm. Who tells you that the processes aren't working? Question number one. Mm-hmm. And question number two, what kind of a methodology do you employ in order to find these processes and then make them better?
Well, I went from a position of managing discrete projects at the property level to a corporate position of strategic initiatives. And part of my charge in working with the CIO directly is to go find the business units that may not run as efficiently as possible and find the holes in our business processes and then correct them. And maybe it's as simple as making a recommendation to cut out one step in the chain, the value chain. Or maybe it's something as complicated as we need to replace this whole system. So those kind of things are what I do, almost like being an internal consultant for the CIO, where I'll go to the business, observe and audit the business and notice things, and then bring them back to my CIO and say, hey, I think we can do it better, faster, cheaper, and more reliably. So the methodology is just, to be honest, it's just good business sense, informed by my years as a journalist, my business school training, those kind of things. A lot of it has to do with return on investment models that we do. I'll build and I'll look at a process. I'll look at our cost. I'll look at our benefits. I'll put together a return on investment and I'll present it to management.
So you let the numbers speak. It's not a gut feeling that someone says, hey, something's wrong here. You actually look at the process, you figure out the numbers, and you let the numbers speak and say, yeah, something is actually wrong here.
Well, it's at a resort like ours and at these big resorts, is we do such heavy volume that if there is a minor break in the chain, that's going to replicate itself, and that's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars. It's going to manifest itself quickly, and it's going to be easily quantifiable in a lot of it because of the volumes that we do. I mean, Vegas gets nearly 40 million visitors a year, and just so much of the volume. We're basically $1 billion cash business is a casino. And that's what a casino really is people come up, they gamble, they spend money on rooms, they spend money on food and beverage, they spend money on entertainment. It's a cash business. We deliver the service on the spot, and they go home happy or displeased. So in terms of business model, in terms of the cash model, it's pretty simplified. But in terms of having all these 20 or so businesses under one roof, it's in how they interconnect from an operating perspective. It's probably one of the most challenging industries I've come across. And to be honest, there are very few business schools that train in hospitality, aside from Cornell and maybe UNLV. There are very few courses of study where you can go in and really find out how to be a good hotel manager or a casino manager or just a general manager in this environment. So it's really learning on the job, and it's basically taking your toolkit and augmenting it with things like project management, PMP, and processes like that. Mm-hmm.
After you've done the process improvement, do you measure it? Whether or not actually you have been successful? Because I'm thinking back to Six Sigma, right? Six Sigma as a process starts out with analyzing what's wrong, then there comes the voice of the customer into it. And in the end, Six Sigma has a strong focus on measuring whether or not you were actually successful. Do you do that as well?
I'd say we need to do a better job of that. We oftentimes are so busy on the next project that we will make assumptions on the money we're going to save, and then we don't go back at the end of the day and really study it, how much we did save. But I'd say we need to do a better job of that. One of the tools I use is a balanced scorecard, made popular by Professor Kaplan. But the balanced scorecard technique that a lot of corporations use, I sort of try to do a back of the envelope type balanced scorecard on my projects where I will take quantitative and qualitative measures. For example, when I installed a retail system, I started to look at things like how many IT problems we had as a measure, as a metric. But I also looked at, over the first 60 days of the project, how many sort of credit card chargebacks we had, or how many returns we had, or how many days of sales under our average. I started to look at those kind of quantitative measures, and I took a mix of the qualitative and quantitative, and I would submit it to the vice president of retail and say, here's your balanced scorecard for retail. And he was impressed, because oftentimes IT project managers will just stop at a certain line and say, the system's up, the servers are up, we're fine. But in reality, I think project managers need to take a business approach and, come up with things like a balanced scorecard and say, here's how you're doing as a business. And IT is a component of that, but it's certainly not all of it, and it's certainly not none of it either.
Right. Well, let's make the shift over then to the retail system project that you worked on. Let's start at the beginning.
Sure.
How long did it take? How many people were involved? What exactly did you do?
We did, this was a real kamikaze type project. And it's a typical hotel casino type thing. And if you have some listeners who want to get in the industry, this is a typical case where you will get an assignment that all of a sudden we're bringing a business in-house. We had 9 retail stores. They were managed by a third-party company. So the system and the management and operation of it was managed by a third party. All of a sudden, there was a management decision, we're going to bring that business in-house. So all of a sudden, 9 stores being converted, systems ours, the management duties are ours, buying and selling merchandise is ours. We had about a 60-day turnaround to take out the old system.
60 days?
Yeah, 60 days. It was tight.
Hairy.
It was tight. And this was actually my very first project with the company, very first. And we relied on a good vendor who was almost like like an ASP type model, where like a rent-as-you-go system. But we had to convert data. We had to set it up. We had to configure it. And we had to do a middle-of-the-night teardown at 2 a.m, rip out 9 stores worth of registers, install 9 stores worth of registers, and be upselling by 6 a.m. the next morning.
Of course, you cannot not sell. The stores are there, the customers are there, they want to come in and buy.
Absolutely.
So rip out the old and put in the new, and there is no parallel testing period.
No, we had done our testing. It was a tried and true solution. We were able to do lab registers, practice selling all our skewed products, with our stock keeping units. We knew that. We knew it worked. It was just a matter of all of a sudden in 60 days converting an entire business that we never had before, like entertainment we never had before. Now we had retail, hiring 60 cashiers, training them on a new system, purchasing, routing from the warehouse, all those kind of things, typical retail, and doing it without impacting the guests walking by the marble floors of the hotel, strolling with their wives, not even seeing what we're doing behind the scenes, and in the middle of the night, taking these little carts with registers and shuttling through the hotel casino. It was exciting. It was tiring, but at the end of the day, 6 a.m., we're selling products. Nobody's noticing the impact. Nobody noticed sort of the significance of what we did. Rip systems out, put them back in, and have no impact to the customer. That's really your true success point, is if you can do these things behind the scenes with not impacting the guest experience. And that's what we did. And we were fortunate to do that. And it's always tougher to do a project when the casino's open than it is when it's not open.
You cannot put a sign up that says, "Pardon the mess while we renovate." Right? That doesn't really work. This sounds very much almost like the same problem that many people who do merger and acquisition projects have. There's suddenly this new company that you have to integrate into your own company. And it's very tight, it's very tough. How did you deal with the culture on this project? Because you brought in 9 stores, right? They were used to a different work style. Okay, they were in your building. They already knew where they were. They weren't changing physical locations. But it's suddenly you're changing companies. You have a new employee. You get your paycheck from somewhere else. How did you deal with that? Or was that even part of what you had to do?
It was. I mean, I had to lead a cross-functional team. I had to train cashiers. I had to responsible for train store managers, do all that. My duties extended beyond IT in that sense, to be the overall project manager. But I would say the one great thing about being in an integrated resort environment that is when you are truly owned by one company and you're all on the same team is there is a esprit de corps. There's the team effort there, and people roll up their sleeves. They all know that they're on the same team, and they do whatever they can to get it done. And the people in project management who might look at this industry from the outside and say, it's highly segmented, highly regimented, and everyone has their skill set. At the end of the day, those are thrown aside. And if you have to open and face the public, you might have a vice president tidying up guest rooms. You might have a director dealing, with plugging in PCs. I mean, it's very communal, and job titles sort of go away at this point, because at the end of the day, you need to open, and that's the number one goal.
That's the number one goal. Right.
So this industry is not for those people who love formal titles and who like corner offices with windows, because it's very people intensive, and it's very you're only as good as your last guest interaction. So if, just like a chef's only as good as the last meal that he cooked. And that's
that is
really,
true.
That's really
that is very
what
true.
it's like.
That is very true. Final question for you.
Sure.
We've just heard how communal the industry is. Well, how do I get into the industry? Let's assume I'm a project manager out there, and I think, wow, this sounds great. How do I, as a project manager, get into the hospitality industry as a PM?
Well, I would say that there's excellent demand right now in Las Vegas for project managers. There's excellent demand for project managers with the PMP. There is, if you just read the business press and talk about all the projects going on with MGM City Center, which is basically a $7 billion development of an entire city block, not just a few hotels, a city block's worth of development. If you look at all that development, and I was just at UNLV talking at a job fair career fair, really. And there was an estimate of 1,000 new IT jobs being created in the next 5 years in Vegas. If you just look at those numbers, Vegas lacks a lot of highly educated people. A highly educated workforce is sort of one of the things that Las Vegas lacks. What Las Vegas does have is reasonable cost of living, nice climate, and basically an industry, a hometown industry that's growing double digits. So the hotel casino is a hometown industry. It's growing. If I were a PMP interested in getting to Vegas, I'd say there's very strong demand. I would go to the hotel casino company's websites. I would work through recruiters. I would do anything I could to get in with sort of the IT departments, the construction departments, if I was a construction project manager. There's going to be, I think that overall there's great demand there. And we lack a lot of PMPs. We lack well-trained project managers. We lack people with either IT experience or construction experience. I would say that there's great demand for that, because that's the highly educated workforce is one thing Vegas lacks. Has a lot of nice benefits. You have the ability, if you're a PMP, to stand out in Vegas. So I welcome people to contact me or just try to network. There is a PMI chapter in Southern Nevada. And you can join that. But I would say it's a good demand in the future, in the next 5 years. As you see these hotels being written about in the Wall Street Journal, multi-billion-dollar hotels, obviously jobs follow. And, those kind of jobs that are involved in pre-opening, construction, or just planning and execution of systems and business units is just exactly where PMs want to be, and there's great opportunity there.
Yep. Great opportunities for us project managers. Nami, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having had you on the program.
Thank you, Cornelius.
And that was our interview with Nami E. Abuzaid. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. But before we go, I just wanted to let you know that the cruise which my wife and I took in the middle of January was absolutely fabulous. We had 7 days aboard the Dawn Princess, and we enjoyed ourselves terribly. I even managed to record 2 podcast episodes during those 7 days, and you will be hearing them here on this program sometime in the future. As always, you can find us on the web at thepmpodcast.com, and if you're a PM who wants to become a PMP, you can visit pmprepcast.com. In this podcast, we teach you concepts, tools, and techniques that you need to know in order to pass the PMP exam. And until the end of the month of January, it is only $39.99, and then the price will go up. Please send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com, and when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. The project purpose statement, which you wrote and which you understand, will be seen completely differently by everyone else. Until next time.